Now, Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba and Treasury officials are in the United States attending the annual spring meeting of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. Our correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease joins us on the line from Washington, D.C. Well, Sherwin, what is happening there at the moment?
Well, after a very busy first day for the finance minister, who literally flew overnight to Wednesday night, arrived here yesterday morning and went straight into meetings, you can begin to see activity behind me, Colin, of preparation for a meeting of the G20 finance ministers. That will be the big focus here. But let me just briefly recap for you what happened yesterday. We had a very interesting discussion with Malusi Gigaba regarding all the challenges that he, of course, faces. Of course, later this week he'll head to New York to have meetings with Moody's, the third credit rating agency that has yet to make a decision in terms of a possible downgrade on South Africa. And we had a very open discussion about whether he felt that he was up against the world or whether he had the wind at his back. And this was a very confident finance minister laying out his agenda here this week, but also pointing out that, you know, radical economic transformation, Colin, is not unique to South Africa. In fact, he called it the global term inclusive growth. And there are many countries that have issues of poverty and where they want to bring people out of poverty. So a radical economic transformation, in the sense that I got from this minister, is not a unique situation to South Africa, but very much a situation that countries that have poverty are grappling with around the world. And I think that's what you're going to see in the G20 finance ministers meeting today. I'm just going to step out of that shot for a second so that Aaron can zoom in. You'll see the area where the G20 finance ministers will gather in just a few moments for the photo opportunity. And I can tell you that their discussions will focus on how to maintain the global momentum in terms of the economic shoots we are seeing in terms of growth. The IMF managing director, Christine Lagarde, yesterday saying that the world economy is going to grow from 3.5% in 2017 to 3.6% in 2018. And the problem that the world is grappling with now is how to maintain that momentum. In 2011, we began to see shoots of growth, but then it all disappeared. And many countries dipped back into recession, particularly Europe, particularly Latin American countries, parts of Africa. So the real challenge facing G20 finance ministers today is how do you maintain that momentum? And then how do you ensure that that momentum is inclusive? How do you ensure that growth is equitable and that it reaches the people at the lowest edges of the economy so that they can be brought out of poverty?
Well, Sharon, one would wonder the sentiment about South Africa when you're there. Are you talking to people there, investors or people in the world of finance? How do they feel and what do they think about South Africa? The country that had a very good investment grade, right now it's on junk status.
Well, we spoke at length yesterday with the IMF economist responsible for South Africa. In fact, he led a mission of the IMF to South Africa last year, and they came out with a report. And his message to us was that, you know, the challenges facing South Africa today are not new. South Africa has been struggling for a very long time, whether you're talking about under the stewardship of former Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. I mean, remember, this was a finance minister whose job it was to stave off those downgrades, and he managed to do those for a number of cycles. But then, of course, we had the cabinet reshuffle, some political uncertainty, some policy uncertainty as a result. And so the IMF basically pointing out that this should have come as no surprise to South Africans, given the challenges that were already there historically. South Africa is a very unequal society. It has huge inequalities, huge pay inequalities. And so there are a number of factors that South Africa needs to grapple with in the short term. How are we restructuring this economy so that it can be more equitable in the long run? You know, one of the big issues that came out of the discussions here yesterday was the fact that the world is becoming more automated by the day, that automation is going to take away 2/3 of jobs as we know it in the medium to long term. 2/3 of jobs as we know it. So how are countries, how are national economies adapting to the fact that automation, the fourth industrial revolution, as many economists are calling it today, is going to affect how we function in a society, how we manufacture things, how we produce our agriculture? how we conduct ourselves in the service industry. How are we adapting to the fact that the world is becoming so much more automated, and that we need to reskill the workforce, we need to re-educate our people, they need to be retrained, and so that they are ready for automation in the world of the future. So these are some of the issues that the G20 finance ministers, these are some of the issues that the stakeholders are grappling with, and some of these issues, of course, not unique just to South Africa, but something that is affecting the world around us.
All right, very insightful and profound, Sherwin. Thank you very much for that focus and another camera focus that you gave us earlier. Thank you so much, Sherwin.